late this summer at the Shakespeare Festival. It was a beautiful, incredible performance, as the Shakespeare Festival always is. But when I was preparing my notes, I thought, you know what? I think this works. And it does, because it's about you. It's about us. And what we did over the course of these last 10 years or so is just incredible. I have in front of me our program. First time we did a program, if you note. And I think it's an appropriate moment as we spend this hour. I think it's going to be an hour. Okay, less than an hour. We'll do our best. As we spend this time reflecting on how we did this, it's also critically important to reflect on who did it. And that's precisely what you're going to be watching here in a few minutes from some people who really had a hand directly and personally in making this happen. But in your programs on the left is In Memoriam. We lost a lot of really good people, great colleagues. And I just wanted to take a moment to recognize them, to let you know that we have not forgotten them and their families and the critical role that they played in the life of this university. And it's only appropriate that we also recognize not only those who have come before us and helped us on this mission, but those who join us this year for the first time and who will carry on the good work here at Boise State. And on your right, you'll see we welcome our new faculty and our staff. It's really an exciting time to be at Boise State. I have to say that this Morrison Center gig here is really nice. This is a great staff. James Patrick and his staff just does an incredible job, not only for us, but everybody from around the world who comes to this stage, and we're delighted to use their facilities. And again, thank the staff back here who's just so great at what they do. And I'd also like to acknowledge that I can't possibly pull this off by myself, so thanks to Greg Hahn and Randy McDermott on our staff for the help they did to make all this come together. So we're going to get right with it, and the best place to start, I suppose, is really to explain the Metropolitan Doctoral Research University we've become. And I think the best way to do that is to give you a bit of a look at some perspectives that we have from our fellow faculty, our colleagues who played a role in this. Let's roll it.
For me, the Carnegie designation is an indicator of where Boise State's going.
First off, it gives us national attention for something that's so important, right? Building the intellectual capital of our country.
And it does make a difference in putting us on the map, being able to attract top faculty and attract top students.
We've done a really good job of that. We've got some pretty tremendous faculty and continue to get great students in large part because of the community and the culture of the university, I think. And now as we continue to elevate that status, we'll have people who are also looking specifically for that research designation, and Boise State will be attractive to those folks as well.
It's a really important stepping stone in the continued growth of Boise State to where we really want to be. We are so far along on that path, and from here it keeps getting better.
While growing the research programs at Boise State has been a focus, I think, for the past 10 years, and it's been important and it's been successful, that it hasn't come at the expense of a focus on education and serving undergraduate students. If anything, that growth in research has really benefited the undergraduate students through just more opportunities for them to learn and be involved in research that's going on.
For most of us, many of us, we learn when we do. Yes, you have to have that foundational knowledge, but when you see where that applies, when you start to see why you're taking those classes, when you build something or design something or run an experiment, that gives you that sort of like, oh, I see how it connects.
There's a lot of research that shows that undergraduates participating in their own research is a great way to recruit and retain them.
Well, our hope is that we're able to take that research culture into the community. Part of the development of the PhD program is this applied public service component. We want to be able to go to the communities and say, we're a resource for you. We can help in places where you need help.
We graduate students who ultimately will be involved in applied science. Currently, more than 30 hydrology graduates are working in the Boise and Idaho areas, understanding very important water resource problems. We've had a PhD program in geophysics since 2000, and we've had a program in geoscience PhD since 2006. So we have a bit of a track record of recruiting graduate students for doctoral degrees. And we've had very good success with training these students to go on to big and great careers. What I notice now that we've gotten this Carnegie designation is that we have many peer departments within the university that we can look to for enhanced collaborative opportunities.
We've shifted our culture, at least from my perspective, to hiring people who are much more focused on producing impactful research, and whether that's in the geosciences or in public administration or in economics, it doesn't matter. What we're doing is recruiting a different type of people than we used to recruit. We decided to put together a program where the students could be encouraged to think about and study deeply interesting questions in the public service, and then leave the building with a set of skills that can help them solve those problems.
The main reason that they started the D&P degree is because we didn't have a practice side of the PhD in nursing. And so we really needed Doctor of Nursing Practice degrees to take the research that's created and transfer it into practice. So we take evidence that's already been established and put it into practice to improve healthcare outcomes and to also create system changes in healthcare.
I'm the director of the Biomolecular Sciences PhD program. And this is a new program on campus. It started in about 4 years ago. And we've had our first graduate, so we're very happy about that. We have students that are involved in nanotechnology, looking at developing new therapeutic approaches for cancer, looking at coming up with new drug delivery platforms. We have students studying the molecular basis for cancer and the spread of cancer. We have faculty looking at developmental diseases, bone development, cartilage diseases. We have faculty that are microbiologists that are looking at developing new biofuels, that are studying ways to inhibit bacterial growth in biomedical applications.
So in February of 2016, we had the State Board of Idaho approved the new PhD program in ecology, evolution, and behavior, which is incredibly exciting because that program bridges a whole bunch of different departments on the university. So it's the Department of Biological Sciences, Anthropology, and Geosciences. And this program is really geared to address some of the most relevant society problems we have today that are very complex and require that interdisciplinary perspective.
I think there have always been world-class researchers at Boise State. There are just more of them now.
And that continued growth is only just going to help us that much more quickly achieve additional steps in the Carnegie ranking.
Right now at Boise State is a really remarkable time to help contribute to that conversation and engage in that conversation and start to think about what does world-class mean to us.
It is really hard to predict where we end up because looking back, I couldn't have said we would be here where we are now, even 5 years ago. And I think computer science is a great example of that. They've tripled enrollment, increased retention, are working with high schools, are probably 10x the research activity, all in the last 5 years. And if you had asked me that 5 years ago, I would not have been able to predict that. So I think what's important is to respond to the needs of the community, respond to the needs of our students, be ready to take advantage of opportunities.
I would just say for us, it's a time to celebrate, but it's also a time to not get caught up in titles and get caught up in doing the good work and not get caught up in mimicking other institutions and get caught up in figuring out what do we want to do and why within the context of what it means to be a research-intensive environment. Not at the sacrifice of undergraduate education, but one that's coupled intimately to it. And I would just share that it's time to celebrate and it's time to get to work.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks, Will. Now, you saw the boots on the ground in that video. These are the folks who really piled up the research and produced the PhDs to make it happen. But along the way, it took a lot of infrastructure and a lot of leadership. And I would start with Marty Schimpf. When Marty Schimpf took over the job of provost, we didn't have a plan on how we were going to do this. He put it together working with Jack Pelton, our dean of the graduate school. They're really the ones who figured this out. Mark Rudin was right at their side because we also didn't have a research office that had the infrastructure of support, compliance, all the things that go along with getting these very complex grants from foundations, the federal government, whatever. Those three really did a great job in getting us off the ground. Julie Oxford, who of course is the director of our Biomolecular Research Center and a Cobra Award winner, has been critical on this mission. Pat Pike, Donna Llewellyn, past and present directors of our STEM Institute. A shout out to Barbara Morgan, who did a great job of connecting us to NASA and improving our STEM reputation. And now, of course, she pointed us in the direction of Steve Swanson, and he's joined us. The architecture and engineering services under the leadership of Kevin Satterley played a big role in building all this out. There are so many buildings on campus that you have no idea what's inside of them because we've remodeled a good number of them to accommodate the growing research here at Boise State. Our professional staff in finance under the leadership of Stacy Pearson, they had to work out how we were going to pay for all of this. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but that was really a struggle throughout these years, especially when you have a recession facing you straight on. And finally, the directors of our PhD programs, the faculty, the chairs, the deans, the faculty senate that had to sit down and approve each of these PhDs and work through with departments how they were going to live up to the integrity of the academic mission here at Boise State. It was clearly a team effort. And finally, I'll just mention one of our private sector partners, Micron Technology. What a public-private partnership that has been. The fact of the matter is, the PhDs required to become a Carnegie Research designation would not have happened without the support of Micron over the years. And we cannot thank them enough for what they're doing for us, right down to the present with their $25 million gift to build a Center for Material Science Research on the campus. And by the way, if it isn't completely clear, there's three basic criteria that determine whether or not you're going to become a Carnegie Doctoral Research University. One is the number of PhD students you have. Second is the number of PhDs you have. And third is the amount of research. That's what counts. That's what they look at. Now, what we did as a strategy is decide early on, given the fact that we live in a tech economy, and given the fact that we must serve that economy, that we would focus on STEM disciplines. We felt at that time, and still do, that was going to be the easiest way to help our board understand, who has to approve all these new PhDs, that there's something unique going on here in the city of Boise with the growth of the tech economy. And we have this opportunity to grow it by adding these PhDs, bringing these researchers and faculty members in who can not only do their own research and advance the disciplines, but graduate more students for our tech economy. We did not choose, for the most part, the traditional disciplines that you would expect to find in any comprehensive university. They're scattered throughout the university at the undergraduate level, and there's some that have master's degrees, but we stayed away from the PhD because we knew that the state board would probably say, well, you have one of those at the other end of the state, or that end of the state. And if you already have one, then why would you create something that looks exactly like what's going on elsewhere in the state of Idaho? And by the way, by the time we finished the build-out of all of these STEM PhDs, adding STEM faculty, still only 15% of our students are STEM students. So it's still a distinct but very strong minority. If I had to take a guess at what the next generation of graduate program development is here at Boise State, I would probably say that we could approach the State Board of Education with truly transdisciplinary PhDs that would range far beyond the work of any one discipline. And the reason I say that is because all you have to do is look around the country at what's going on. Georgetown University has a PhD in interdisciplinary and public humanities. Purdue has a degree in technology that marries the College of Business with the humanities and offers a distinct and different kind of transdisciplinary degree. I think there are so many examples out there we can follow, and I would urge our faculty, our deans, and our chairs to start talking with each other about how we create the next generation of PhDs that I think at the undergraduate level is already starting to set us apart. This transdisciplinary focus that we have here at Boise State has clearly caught the attention of a number of folks, and we're going to keep right on moving with it. Now, the whole mission of Carnegie doctoral research was one, needless to say, as you could tell from the video, our faculty who were engaged are very proud of that. But we have faculty across the campus who have played a critical role in the life of this university and who, in private conversations with me, have confided, this really helps us as well. And I thought, you need to hear from them as well. You need to hear from our faculty who are not the STEM faculty who took us to the Carnegie Research Designation, but in some ways play such a critical role in the future and where we go from here. Let's listen to them.
I think in all the time I've been here, I've never been more excited about the promise and potential of the university than I am now. This new Carnegie designation is just a tremendous coup for us. And I'm very excited about where we're headed. It's kind of that idea, how does it go that the tide rises all boats, And just having the kind of national visibility that this ranking brings Boise State, I think it's going to bring tremendous attention to our university.
I think watching the university work towards a shared goal that people from all different aspects of campus, people who do all kinds of different work, contributing to this, what seemed like a really lofty goal at the time, that became a reality because of the strengths of so many people, the hard work and the accomplishments.
Research universities have a reputation, deserved or not, as places that don't care about teaching. There's not good narratives around what does it look like to be a research institution that holds both research in high regard as well as teaching. Right? In my dream world, we will be an institution, and I think we are well on our way to doing this, that has faculty that both earn incredible accolades for their research and they win teaching awards.
So if you're a faculty member considering a variety of job offers and different kinds of institutions, that's a significant selling point. So this institution will invest in me. This institution will allow me to do the kinds of research that I want to do and be as prolific and productive as I can be, because they want me to be prolific and productive and be part of this team that keeps rising up this ladder.
Amanda Ashley and also Samia Islam from the College of Business and Economics and I are working together on a new NEA grant. And as we're starting to think about, answering some of those questions at the top of the application about your university's mission and your university's experience conducting this kind of research, I feel proud of the ways that I'm able to describe the university, and that I feel like this recent accomplishment makes our application that much more competitive. Over the years, it seems to me the university has been able to draw really high caliber, very productive artists, humanists, scholars, performers, creators of all kinds. And when I get out in the community to see things at institutions that don't have Boise State in the title, I'm almost always seeing my colleagues' work or seeing the work of former students. And so I really think the talents of Boise State drive so much of what makes Boise a really great place to live. And while that might be not the most direct line to the Carnegie designation, I think the high caliber of the institution is being felt across the community in all kinds of ways.
You know, in 2 days, on Friday afternoon, 3 o'clock I think it is, right here on this stage, we'll be welcoming our new class of students. And we will not only fill up this lower section, we will fill up the upper section, and my guess is I wouldn't be surprised if we'll have another a few places to put people, because between parents and the students, we just pack this place. And the excitement in the air on that day and move-in day and throughout this summer in orientation sessions is just palpable. It's just incredible to listen to parents and students tell the story of why they chose Boise State. And I know it's dark out there, so I'll just read the one on the back of this cover. It says, a parent from California. This is actually someone who Laura Simic knows, and she sent this email to Laura after her daughter visited Boise State University. My daughter applied to 22 schools and was admitted to 21 of them, including Washington, Oregon, and Oregon State. After visiting Boise State, she canceled all other campus visits. I love it when they cancel the Pac-12, just right down my alley. So, what more can you say about what's going on here? And what I want to help you understand, and I know you do, but it's good when we're celebrating to look back and celebrate and give credit to people who are making a difference. We have completely and totally revitalized the undergraduate experience here on this campus. We were the commuter school for a long time, and there wasn't anything wrong with that. We served the needs and the interests of this community and this valley and this state for a long, long time. But a few years ago, it became abundantly clear to us, for a variety of reasons, that we could also attract students from outside the valley, whether it's North Idaho, East Idaho, whether it's the southern part of the state, or the western states from Seattle all the way down to Southern California. How have we been able to make that mark? How have we been able to change students' decisions from California, let's say, the UCal system, the Cal State system? How did these large numbers of students start arriving at our doors? Why? What was going on? And I think you probably know last year's first-year class was 41% from out of state. And it's not as though we want that number to be the total out-of-state population of Boise State. We're only around 28%. But we do have to grow that a little bit in order to make up for the state funding issues that we have historically had here. But let's just take a moment to look at what we've done. Out of the provost office, whether it's retention, the graduation rate, dealing with the bottlenecks, we've received money from the state legislature in the last 3 years to help with all of those, and we have substantially improved the ability of a student to move through Boise State. We've created these living and learning communities. There's 7 of them. They serve about 200 students. We have 400 applications right now for 200 spots in those living and learning communities, where students live with students of the same interests, the same majors, where there's a faculty member on the floor with them, and I think it's one of the most brilliant programs we have here on this campus. Our fraternity and sorority life has just taken off. We have 15 Greek organizations, 8 sororities, and 7 fraternities. In 2010, we were serving about 100 students. Today we're serving 1,100 students, and they just racked up a GPA last year that was one of the highest GPAs in the country for fraternities and sororities. And if you look at what they're focused on, it's not exactly like the old days, and I'm not going to make any further mention of the old days or the way it's still done some places across the country, but these are fraternities and sororities who focus on leadership, volunteerism, service to the community. These are really some of our best citizens. In math reform, it was just a few years ago when we had students and families lined up complaining about the flunk rate out of our math programs, and we really hadn't been able to get our handle around it. Thanks to Gary Haggerty and the Math Learning Center, we have just turned it around completely. And it's remarkable to see students learning as effectively as they are, active and adaptive learning sessions with high rates of success. Advising improvements. Once again, thanks to Complete College of Idaho, we added 12 new advisors. We're going to keep growing those advisors as time goes on. And by the way, I might mention that Kobe's doing the same thing under the leadership of Dean Ken Peterson. They've actually rearranged some of their furniture over there and their space, and they're devoting it to students, focusing on advising. And as I understand it, you can't take a semester's worth of business courses at Kobe without first consulting with your advisor. And we all should be working toward that the day comes when no student at Boise State can advance through a semester without first checking with an advisor and making sure they get the sign off that they're on the right track. Years ago, we had a College of Applied Technology. We spun it off, and we spun it off simply because we thought it was very confusing for a school that was using the aspirational Metropolitan Research University of Distinction to be talking about an applied technology program. It sounded more like a community college, and then we looked around and saw that we were the largest metropolitan area in America without a community college. And of course, the College of Western Idaho is what exists today, and it's a great partner for us. And needless to say, it brings a lot of students over here to Boise State. In fact, it creates a whole new set of challenges for us, how to accommodate transfer students. We had small numbers of those in days of old. Now we're getting larger and larger numbers as CWI students come on over to Boise State. We've ramped up our honors college. Well, there's pretty visible evidence of that. We have that new facility going up, and that is going to be so cool right across from the student union. But it's also interesting to note that it was just a few years ago when there were 300 or 400 honors students in the honors college. This fall, there'll be 700 showing up for duty. It's just been a great program. And that construction you see there is the first public-private partnership we've done on campus. It's a company called EDR. They have a great reputation. They do this all over the country with universities, public and private. We're delighted to have them aboard. I referred to it earlier, but I want to mention one other thing that I think is so critical, the Western State Strategy. And by the way, before I leave the Honors College, Andrew Finstuen is the guy, just like when I said earlier, Marty comes in and all of a sudden there's a plan on how we're going to do this Carnegie designation. Andrew did the same thing with the Honors College, and so much of what's going on today is his great work. Meanwhile, over in enrollment management, we sat down and said, look, we're not going to make it revenue-wise if we don't have a larger out-of-state population to draw from for revenue reasons. But secondly, isn't it just so much more a diverse community if we're drawing from across America, especially the western states? Let's open Boise State up to the great American West. And they set out about a strategy that I think was really brilliant, number one, but number two, the execution of it you're seeing with the kinds of increased enrollments we're having with our first-year students. Whether it's the staff who's out recruiting, going to high school student fairs all year, whether it's the students that you see, some of our own undergraduates taking families on tours of Boise State University, whether it's the orientation session that these students and families are going through now. That, by the way, is now a 2-day event here at Boise State, and you wouldn't believe how crowded and packed it is with people from out of state who are coming here in the middle of summer, spending overnights, learning more about what's going to happen in the fall. None of this would happen were it not for the leadership of student affairs and the work of enrollment management. And I just want to give a shout out to Leslie Webb and her staff, to Jim Anderson, to all of the people that have done such incredible work to make this all come together. And, of course, when they're walking around and showing Boise State off, what's the thing you always hear? You always hear, wow, it's so cool, you got these buildings, they're new. This is a new campus. Well, let me tell you a story that I've told before, and maybe you remember it. In 2005, I think it was, Kevin Satterley walked into my office and on the back of an envelope sketched out a plan for something called the Strategic Facilities Fee. And it was going to be a semester fee that was attached to a student's tuition bill, and it was going to create a bond fund, which we would use then to borrow and build the buildings you see on this campus today. We started off with $25 a semester. It's a lot higher now. It's $330. And I make no bones about it, and every time we've raised it, and every time we've taken our students with us to State Board of Education meetings, they're the ones that say, we, the students of Boise State, are building out our campus. And along the way, of course, we've had some help from the state, not as much as we'd like, but $10 million went into that environmental research building that you see at the other end of campus. $5 million for the Center for Fine Arts that I'm going to be talking about in a minute. But by and large, students have really carried the weight of this building program, and we're so proud of them and what it has brought us in 2016. We have a new School of Public Service, and it has distinguished itself in a very short time. I'm amazed at how you can create a new School of Public Service and then create an Idaho Policy Institute, which is basically an applied research center, and within the course of a year or so, you can find that research center and our faculty and staff working here in the Treasure Valley, dealing with ways to reduce chronic homelessness, in the Wood River Valley, where we're working on affordable housing with the Wood River Valley folks, and in North Idaho, in Sandpoint, dealing with their business improvement district and helping the Bonners Ferry Visitors Center do things better as well. It just says a lot for a school that is just so new, you can only imagine what's coming. It seems to me, as I look back on Boise State, that if there's one theme that keeps driving us, it is this word innovation. And I think where it started, this is my own personal take, and you can disagree, was back when a guy named Chris Peterson came here to coach football. And he got out there on the field and started doing these plays. They called them trick plays. And some people graduated that term to innovative plays. And in 2007 at the Fiesta Bowl, we turned that into magic and national reputation for the football program and Boise State University. At the time, there was a business faculty member over in the College of Business named Nancy Napier. Nancy just retired, and I assume is not with us today. Is she? Okay. But if she is, she'd love to hear this. And Nancy decided that, why don't I, Nancy Napier, gather together all of these innovators, like Chris Peterson, from around town, put them together, start the gang, our gang. And the gang ended up meeting regularly and talking about what is it about the entrepreneurial spirit? How do you cook it up? How do you provide the ingredients, and how do we make more of it? And she even produced a book that was based on the gang. Well, obviously, Chris Peterson has moved on, Nancy Napier has retired, but that theme of innovation keeps on moving through this campus. Last year, of course, we created the College of Innovation and Design. And it really was the next generation of how we would display our innovative behavior and our innovative spirit here at Boise State University. As a result of that, we now have the new GIM degree, the Gaming and Interactive Media and Mobile Technology degree. Last year, right out of the box, 70 people signed up as majors for that brand new degree, which, by the way, is truly a transdisciplinary degree. There's the departments of art, computer science, English, educational technology, and information technology, all involved in that. This year, they've doubled their number of majors. There's going to be twice as many majors in that program. Meanwhile, we started talking with the College of Business. Ken Peterson and Gordon Jones and I sat down with Marty and we talked about bridge to career. How can we find ways of building for non-business students some skills that will serve them in their first job interview, assuming that most of them are probably at some point going to wind up in the business world. And so we put the Bridge to Career program together, and Ken told me the other day that the numbers there are really looking good. Then, just recently, we were approached by the Harvard Business School. And they have a program called HBX, which is their online program. And within that, they have a 9-hour credit sequence course online. You take it in one semester. It's basically accounting, finance, and management and organizational skills. And it's for non-business majors. And we have, in fact, signed up with HBX, with the Harvard Business School, and we're offering that. I should know whether it's this semester or next semester, but this semester, there, that must have been Gordon, and good for the College of Innovation and Design. Gary Schwartz-Moore from the Harvard Business School is with us today, by the way. Where are you, Gary? Great to have you with us. Thanks so much for joining us. We have one more. We have another. We're probably going to have any number of partners, but we have another partner we're talking to who actually does a lot of work with tech companies who are looking for people who are not the techies. And it's a company that does what they call last mile training. And we may be entering into an agreement with them as well. I think what's exciting about all of these programs that are emerging in the College of Innovation and Design, in the College of Business and Economics, and I'm sure they'll be popping up other places, is that they really are trying to look into the future. What does the job of tomorrow really look like? And how do we need to adapt our curriculum to make our students not only the finest citizens of the world, but employable? We can never forget that. I mean, I think in my days, 28 years in the classroom, I have to admit, I was all about my discipline. I was all about getting my students through my discipline and understanding the discipline. I hadn't focused too much on what we were going to do after that. Times are a-changing, and now employers are demanding us to spend more time focusing on that, and that's clearly what we have to do. One of the things I thought I would share with you is an announcement that came out on Tuesday. This is from the Obama administration. It's $17 million in new funding to non-traditional schools. And it's a whole variety of private, for-profit schools partnering with public universities and offering new kinds of training and education for students. And if you read this thing, what you notice is that it sounds remarkably similar to a guy that I probably quoted in one of my previous addresses here a few years ago, Clayton Christensen, who really coined the term the unbundling of the college degree. And what he really was saying was, do we know for sure that in 25 years anybody's going to care whether you've got a BA or a BS? But instead, will they be looking on that resume for a variety of validations which come perhaps in smaller amounts, but would demonstrate to employers this student is ready for, this graduate is ready for the task. I don't think there's any question that since I first talked about the unbundling of education, it's taken off. First of all, it's taken off right here. That's what I just got finished talking about in terms of what we're doing with Bridge to Career and HBX and a few other things. But it's time to think even more seriously about how we adapt and how we can become even more flexible when it comes to the way we prepare our students. 6 out of 10 Boise State students are not pre-professional. Okay? So we've got 4 who are either in nursing, engineering, accounting, criminal justice, wherever those degrees are that, for the most part, lead directly to a first job. Then we have this 6 out of the 10 that I guess you could say, some of them are science majors, but many of them are in political science or history or anthropology or sociology or psychology, what we normally, or what the world normally calls liberal arts majors. Now Google liberal arts major, or if you want to get really depressed, Google decline of the liberal arts major. And you'll get, as I did just a few weeks ago, pages and pages of articles accounting for the demise of the liberal arts major. You'll get stories of liberal arts colleges that have fallen apart in enrollment. I just sat with 5 university presidents, college presidents in Denver 2 weeks ago. 3 of them were small liberal arts college presidents. One of them was from Iowa, trying to hold on to 600 students and losing. It's really sad what's going on in America, that somehow the employer message about technical skills became so overloaded that somewhere along the line we forgot there's a lot more to an education than a bundle of technical skills. So every now and then you find some hope, a ray of hope. Check out these headlines that I found. Hey, whoa, wait a minute here. How's that fit in with what I just got finished telling you and what you can read it on Google? The useless liberal arts degree has become tech's hottest ticket. That is a fascinating article. And in that article, they talk about a study that Northwestern University did. They tracked all of their graduates who went to the Silicon Valley to find out where they wound up. You know, how many, they have a College of Engineering at Northwestern, so they probably all went straight into software engineering. What they found was that only 30% went into Silicon Valley for tech jobs. The rest of them were all from a whole variety of degrees, doing all the support systems and mechanisms that you need to keep these businesses alive. How many use Open Table? Anybody use Open Table? I know one person who uses Open Table. Kathy is like sold on Open Table. After all, you get free food after you use Open Table for a while. Anyway, Open Table is this incredible software. 32,000 restaurants are a part of Open Table, okay? So I won't ask you to guess, but can you only imagine how much technical help, how much technical assistance it takes to keep track of those 32,000 restaurants? And you couldn't, if I had you guess, you couldn't tell me what that number is. Because the number's 14. There's 14 people in Open Table keeping track of 32,000 restaurants. Thanks to machine learning and thanks to analytics and everything we know about it, 14 people. Well, what there's also in Open Table are restaurant relations managers like Shauna Ramona. Shauna Ramona is an English literature major. She's working for Open Table. She's in the tech industry. And she's the one that is making the technology work because she works with the company. She works with the restaurants in how you keep track of all these things. So to many of us in higher education, employers are really jeopardizing the long run by this single-minded emphasis on these narrow sets of skills, whether they're technical or not. I was at a lunch with Skip Oppenheimer, one of our dear friends of the university and a personal friend, and he put together all these CEOs from Boise. And we said, you tell us, what can we do better? The first thing out of the mouth of somebody is, find the comma. I want to know what happened to the comma. The comma's gone thanks to texting. Will you teach your students the comma? Okay? The next guy said, how about presentation skills? They can't stand up and give a presentation. We need more presentation skills. We need them to communicate better, in writing, on paper, orally, whatever it might be. I don't think we ever did get around to how many technologists we needed that day, but we know they need those as well. And the key is that this idea of Bridge to Career in the HBX program, it tries to recognize that our job has to be to augment the liberal arts degree. So we end up producing somebody who can not only get through the first job interview and get the job, but then as they progress, they will absolutely excel given the broad-based education they have. Well, enough about that. I think it's awfully important to recognize the fact that we have this moment here at Boise State when we can really continue to be innovative and continue to strike out for how to better educate our students. I'd like to shift a little bit to our priorities. We're sitting here talking about how we're going to do a better job of educating the undergraduate student. And I know that we are a comprehensive university, and we better stand up for it. And in order to stand up for it, we're going to have to demonstrate that we walk the walk and we talk the talk. And right no more than a few steps from here is where the new Center for Fine Arts is going to go. And the Center for Fine Arts is going to be a beautiful, well, there it is. You see the design, many of you have seen it already. But more than just a beautiful architectural rendering, that Center for Fine Arts is going to be a symbol of what Boise State stands for when it comes to the arts and the humanities, when it comes to the liberal arts, when it comes to the fact that, is there any better way to demonstrate the balance we believe in here at Boise State than to have the Center for Fine Arts on the extreme western end of campus, next to the Morrison Center, next to our theater department and our Department of Music. At the other end, we have our engineering complex. Is there any better balance when it comes to explaining to somebody who we are, what we believe in? I don't think so. And we had to make a really tough decision, as a matter of fact, on where to place this in the scheme of things. What's coming next? It was either the Material Science Research Building or this. And frankly, we put this one ahead of the Material Science Research Building because we've done so much in the area of STEM, and we know we're going to get the building. We know that Micron is committed to the building, but we've had so much difficulty raising funds for this building that we just felt it important. This has to be our number one priority right now. And I want you to know it's our number one priority because of what it says about Boise State and what we believe in. I also want to recognize the fact that we just received a very generous gift from Alan and Royanne Minskoff. Royanne is the new foundation president, and they've given a generous gift to the Center for Fine Arts, as did Skip and Esther Oppenheimer, who I mentioned earlier. And right in the middle of that building, no, it's not in the middle, it's in the blue part, there's going to be the World Museum. And the World Museum is going to be high-tech, high-touch and tech, and it'll be from floor to ceiling, video screens, and it will take students this high on trips around the world to the finest art museums of the world. Obviously, we'll do that for adults too, but the World Museum is really designed for young people. And we're going to have some of our College of Innovation and Design folks. Anthony Ellertson's going to bring the alternative reality harnesses on. That's not a harness. What do you call those things? Sounds like a horse. Whatever it is. We're going to put those on your head. And imagine being able to walk around the statue of David instead of having to drive all the way to Florence. I mean, that's a heck of a deal. Think about that for a minute. Well, I'm just looking forward to the World Museum. I know that, needless to say, our art department's looking forward to quarters that actually are not on some kind of suspended animation. They're on some provisional accreditation because our art department quarters are so poor. And as I said, we're going to fix that as soon as we can. I also would want to point out that I've been talking about Micron, we've had great relationships with St. Luke's and St. Al's and all of our health partners across the region. And the College of Health Sciences and what Tim Dunnigan's faculty have done, especially the new doctorate in nursing practice. I mean, that's a very good example of the hospitals coming together with our College of Health Sciences and making it all happen. And then, of course, there's the Blue Sky Institute that Tim talked about from this stage last year. That is off and running and obviously is going to focus on a lot of research and practice when it comes to population health crises. It's going to have a special focus on mental health and access in Idaho, which, as some of you know, is a major problem. Let's get a couple of other things up here. Man, I'm really running late. But we've got to show you Gorangosa. Greg Carr is one of the great humanitarians on this planet. Greg is he's the guy that founded Prodigy, if you're old enough to remember Prodigy. And he just one day said, I quit. I made all the money I need to make. I'm going to give it back. And he went to Gorangosa National Park, which had been under Civil War strife for 21 years, They killed off almost every animal and most of the people by the time Greg got there, and he entered into a contract with the country of Mozambique and Gorongosa National Park to rehabilitate it. And those are our faculty. That's Mark Bichard and Greg Kaltenecker, who are working with a young lady from Mozambique who is coming here this fall to be one of our students, if that isn't cool. It's a great new partnership. Many of our faculty and students, I'm sure, will find their way over there. Her name is Diolinda Mendoza, and she'll be part of Boise State shortly. I want to mention First Folio. That's really exciting. Maybe you heard it today on NPR, but these are 36 scripts that were published in a folio. There were 750 of those folios. They're down to 235 surviving. The Folger Library owns 82 of them, and they're sending one to each state, and they will arrive shortly, secretly, securely. Somebody will bring them in disguise. We think they may be in disguise of Richard Clouch. We're not sure. But this is really a big deal. And tomorrow, if you listen to Adam Cotterell on NPR, he's going to explain the security of these things, because these are really unbelievably valuable, and needless to say, there is, I guess, some folks who are going to be watching these pretty closely while they're here. But I just want to thank Tracy Bicknell Holmes, who really just beat us up until we'd find a way to do this and find the money to do it, and we did. And Gwen Hervishon and Heather Gravatt and Stephanie Bacon for their foresight and their tireless effort to get the folio to Boise State. Boise State University is absolutely proud to host it. The Saturday, August 20th, is the opening celebration. And at the same time, by the way, we're moving. Now I'm really going to move from one end of the campus to the other. But speaking of interesting things happening, our entire computer science faculty is moving downtown. They're doing it so cost effectively that I just saw a faculty member with a desk on his back headed straight through Ann Morrison Park or Julia Davis Park, and Amy Mall, she just doesn't give out any money over there. So, and by the way, cybersecurity is a big deal at the College of Engineering today. One of our experts in the tech community told us that for every cyber breach, it's about a $5 million bill. Can you imagine? So you could see how important it is for there to be more cybersecurity experts. In our computer science department, just to give you an idea, in 2010, we were hammered by the community that we don't produce enough graduates. And in 2010, we had 9 faculty and we had 261 undergraduates. In 2016, we have 25 faculty. I think at least 4 of them are new this year and maybe in the audience, and 650 undergraduates. I mean, that's just incredible, just unbelievable. I want to give a shout out to Evelyn Johnson and Michael Humphrey, who are working in the College of Education with the Lee Pesky Learning Center, and they're working on a new approach to special education, working with school districts, working with our College of Education and the Pesky Learning Center to improve the way we teach and train special education teachers. And if you haven't figured it out yet, this is an election year. How about that? You know, if you don't know about that, you need to check the pulse, because there is election mania all over the place. I won't go into it. Boy, would I like to go into it. But there are people here on campus who are going to go into it in a very professional and objective fashion, and that would be Jill Gill and Justin Vaughn. They're going to do a course called Patriotic Choices, a semester of choosing civility and the common good from convocation to graduation. We're going to have all kinds of events this fall, voter registration events, a film series, debate watching events, a few circus acts along the way that would fit right in with what seems to be going on. Our campus read this year, our campus read is The Road to Character. We actually chose that before one of these people became a candidate for president. But The Road to Character is written by David Brooks. He's a big deal. He's a New York Times op-ed columnist. David Brooks is coming to town, and he'll be here on September 27th, sponsored by the Honors College. It's the book itself, The Road to Character, is 10 short biographical vignettes of sorts of important people through history and how they've struggled with how to lead the good life. And that's really the sum and substance of his book. How to lead the good life. Do you want to be remembered for your resume virtues? Or do you want to be remembered by your eulogy virtues? That's the way he kicks off the book. And I can't think of a more appropriate time in our history during this campaign season to have a gentleman as esteemed academic as David Brooks is to be here on our campus talking about this. By the way, I just finished a book that I think is the fictional counterpart of The Road to Character in some ways. It's called Dark Matter. And if you want to read that alongside The Road to Character, it's really a novel. It's sci-fi. I don't read sci-fi at all, but I did in this case because I heard a great NPR review of the book. But it's about the road not taken. And I think when we're dealing with students who are trying to figure themselves out, figure their majors out, who they want to be in this world, what kind of a career they're building for themselves, it's a good lesson to learn about the road not taken and how that compares to the road taken. And how do you know how to decide between the road taken and the road not taken? Well, Dark Matter might pique your curiosity on that. Congratulations to the athletic department, by the way. They've had 13 programs that recorded a perfect single-year APR under the leadership of Kurt Apsey, who's done a great job with the coaches. We have just an outstanding athletic program with coaches that are there for us all the time. Right now in Rio, we have 6 current or former Bronco athletes competing in the Olympics. How about that? That's pretty cool. Laura Simic, I want to talk about the scholarship campaign. She has a great staff. She's done a great job of organizing the Office of University Advancement. And we set that campaign at $25 million and thought that would take care of a lot of students who are struggling to pay their bills. We're at $40 million. When we have our first football game, we'll have the person who wrote the check that adds to the totals, the $40 million. It's really exciting to see the work that's been done. Extraordinary generosity across the community. I can't believe the people that are just figuring out a way to do one scholarship for one student. And that's a sea change from the days when we thought we had to just spend all of our time with really wealthy donors who could write big checks. I think we've really helped the community understand that you don't have to be wealthy to give a contribution to Boise State. And you know that better than anybody because our faculty and staff, if you look at our scholarships, man, our faculty and staff names are all over them. So thank you for that. We really do appreciate it. Well, I've already shared with you how much I think of our student affairs operation and the backside of that brochure that you have that shows those great quotes. We've had a great run. I mean, President Obama comes here and he says, you know, you guys are clearly, you have a culture of innovation here at Boise State. U.S. News twice says Boise State is an up-and-coming university. And, of course, the Chronicle of Higher Education a year or so is talking about Boise State, and they said it's demonstrably on the move. And then the Carnegie designation that you did, this is our heavy lifting. We've proven that all of those statements are true, that we can back it up with where we're going and who we've become. Well, guess what? There's one more. And then you're going to get to go eat lunch. And that one more is really interesting because we don't know anything about firetail.com. They've never contacted us. We haven't had a chance to sell Boise State to them, okay? They're in London. They're a consulting firm. And basically, they help ambitious organizations achieve positive social change and develop strategies across the world which result in better and smarter choices. They decided to identify a class of 2030. That's like the year 2030, which consists of the next generation of challenger universities that are quickly rising in the world rankings and have an opportunity to become globally renowned in the next 10 to 20 years. The study looked at over 300 universities worldwide as potential candidates for the class of 2030. It singled out 20 rising stars, they call them, and Boise State is on that list. I mean, that's just, congratulations. I don't think it's going to be easy to stay on that list. I think there's a lot of heavy lifting ahead. One of the quotes says, over the next 10 to 20 years, there will be unexpected challenges to the establishment. Ambitious, fast-improving universities will take advantage of disruptive global trends that create unique opportunities for innovation. Our research suggests the difference between the winners and losers will be strategy. No one will become world-class by chance. These institutions are characterized by their balance of long-term vision with short-term execution, clear view of the changing world and their role in it, robust plan to generate the resources, people, and culture needed to be successful, focus on innovation, including harnessing new partnerships and institutional models, outward-looking and impact-focused nature. I mean, no wonder they found us, I guess, right? I mean, that's exactly who we have become. That's what you have done over these last 10 years, and there's no doubt in my mind why they wouldn't find us, but as I said, I'm still waiting to meet somebody who I can thank for doing this for us. So they go on to say, those who sustain this improvement over the next 15 years, and let's be clear, not all of them will, are set to become globally influential universities during the 2030s. They can and will shake up the establishment. We call them the class of 2030. The question remains, who will graduate with this class and who will drop out? Well, first of all, congratulations to all of you on another great distinction. I am absolutely convinced that we're no dropout. We have the creative and innovative culture right here on this campus that will help us graduate with honors in the class of 2030. So why don't we just get to work and make it happen? Have some lunch in the meantime. Have a great year. Thanks for all you do for Boise State University, and go Broncos.